Welcome to the Front Line. I'm your host, Angela Watson. I am very excited to have our first inaugural podcast episode right here with Major General John Pippy, the 55th Adjutant General of Pennsylvania, the commander of the Pennsylvania National Guard, and the head of the Pennsylvania Department of Military and Veterans Affairs. Thank you so much for being here.
Angela, thank you for having me. I am just excited about the new podcast and what you guys and the whole team's been working on, and just can't wait to tell our story.
Well, the whole reason we're here and we've developed this podcast is because you felt that this was a great tool to maybe reach people who don't know who we are or what we do. And why did you feel compelled to start this?
Well, I think when you look at organizations like the National Guard or the Department of Military and Veterans Affairs, if you're in the military or if you have a parent that was in the military, if you're a veteran, you know the story because you experienced it. But that's only a very small percentage of our population.
1%?
Well, less than 1%
Right.
if you look at the current population. If you take in all our veterans, less than 5%. And so, sometimes I think there's a disconnect between the perception of what we do and who we are and then what actually does occur. And there are so many wonderful stories about the men and women that wear our uniform or work at DMVA, at our 6 veterans homes or at our outreach centers or here at 14 Town Gap, that I thought it would be great if we could use a podcast to share that story. And this obviously is a form of media that is very popular right now.
Yes.
And so let's just go tell our story. It's a great story to tell, and hopefully what we will see is that future episodes will be driven by things that people are interested in knowing about, not just our Army or Air Force or our veterans homes, but who are the people in our Pennsylvania Guard? Who are the men and women that work at Southeast or Southwest Veterans Center or the Pennsylvania Veterans Home up in here? Like, who are those people? And let's tell their story, because every day I get a chance to meet them. And I get a chance to spend time with them, and it just inspires me. So hopefully it will inspire those who watch the show.
Right. And I think the question of who are we is a really big question to ask, because we are a very big department with a lot of different pieces to it. I think when people think Pennsylvania Department of Military and Veterans Affairs, sometimes they may think the big federal VA. We are not that. So explain a little bit to a viewer who may not know what is it that you are the head of. Explain to me how the department works.
Well, in Pennsylvania, the Adjutant General has 2 primary roles. One, the commander of the military forces for our Air and Army National Guard. So it's a little less than 18,000 men and women who wear a uniform and serve our Commonwealth and our country. So that is, I think, what most people anticipate when you see a person in uniform, the military side. What's also part of my responsibility is the Department of Military and Veterans Affairs, that's shown by the patriotic keystone behind you. And that is represented by almost over 3,000 civilian employees, many of whom are veterans, but not all. Many just care about the mission. 6 veterans homes, outreach centers, and representatives and veterans service officers all across all the counties in the state. And in that role, what we do is we have the responsibility of taking care of those 6 veterans homes, the roughly 11,000 or 1,150 residents. And by the way, if the residents of those veterans homes are either veterans themselves or the spouse of veterans. And we have some tremendous wings of spouses of veterans, and you hear these, and in a lot of cases, the women tell the stories back from World War II and Korea. It's just real powerful. And then we're also responsible for all veteran services within the Commonwealth. So we have tremendous veterans outreach teams, and what they do is they try to take care of, Pennsylvania has about 650,000 veterans in the Commonwealth. Whether you were in the Guard or not, the Pennsylvania Department of Military and Veterans Affairs is responsible for helping you get the benefits you deserve, educational programs, all those different benefits. That's what we do. What differentiates us from the VA is think the VA as hospitals and veterans, the statuses and those things, and we're more of the veteran services and programs, not the medical care.
Right. And we'll be getting to all of those benefits and programs as we get through different episodes of our podcast, so definitely stay tuned for that. We also have the Keystone State Challenge Academy, which I don't want you to hit now. We'll get to that in a few minutes, but that's another big part of what we do. So we'll get to that in a minute. But I did want to start with the Pennsylvania National Guard because it's a unique entity in that our members are really that citizen soldier.
Yeah.
And you can be in a uniform like you are today on a weekend and then be wearing a suit and tie during the week at your civilian job. So what are some things about the Pennsylvania National Guard that A, you're proud of, and B, people may not know?
Well, first, Pennsylvania is a keystone state for a reason, not only for our nation, but also, there's a lot of firsts. And Benjamin Franklin was a founding father of the Pennsylvania National Guard. We are on our 279th birthday. The U.S. is celebrating 250 years. The Pennsylvania Guard's been around for 279, established just in Philadelphia to protect the Philadelphia region during some troubling times. So 1747. So next year will be a 280th celebration for the PA Guard. And we are the third largest guard in the nation with, I mentioned earlier, over 13,000 soldiers and a little over 4,000 airmen. And we're spread out across the entire Commonwealth. And we've been involved in every major battle, every major operation in our nation's history. And some of our oldest units go back to George Washington and the Continental Army. So, from a military legacy, that's real impressive. The other side of that is what you talked about, which is for the Guard in general and the reserve forces as well, only 80% of them are actually part-time. They have another job, whether they work at a company, they're a teacher, they're a doctor, they're an IT executive, they're a police officer. We have a lot of police officers that are in our Guard, and we're proud of that. So they serve their community. We're part of the community. We're tied to our community, and we're ready whenever our community needs us. And that's what's unique about the Guard, is we're the only part of the military where we have a dual oath, one to the President of the United States as well as the Governor of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. We support and defend the Constitution of the United States as well as the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. And we can do that because if we're not federalized on a federal mission, then we fall under the authority of the governor. And that's a unique capability that allows us to help our communities whenever they need us immediately. And you've seen that whether it's a flood or storm, during some of the civil disturbances and protests. The Guard was in Philadelphia, but we were there securing and helping and protecting individuals' right to the First Amendments, but also protecting our citizens and our communities. And that is unique to the Guard. That is part of our mission.
And I think for topics down the road, we're going to take a deep dive into some of the reasons that can be a stressor in people's lives, right? So, I think when you look at the totality of being a guardsman, you're working all the time. You've got your family, you have your job, you're a soldier, 1 week in a month, 2 weeks a year.
And
an airman, yes. Yeah. So I think there's a lot of stressors involved in that. That's one thing that we hope this podcast does, is give us a platform to talk about what we're doing and what the community can do to partner with us to help those problems that often bubble up when it comes to stressors for the people that serve. One thing I do want to talk about, because we are headquartered here, right here in Fort Indian Town Gap, and it is the busiest Guard training center in the United States, and we have a pretty nice, most unique situation here. And tell me a little bit about Fort Indian Town Gap.
Fort Indian Town Gap is a jewel when it comes to training sites around the country. As you mentioned, annually we'll have roughly over 130,000 people that will come through at some point and train here, whether it's active duty military, National Guard, reserve components, our counter drug, over 500 different police organizations will come here and train. Different organizations from different parts of the government will be here. We have the second busiest aviation training site where we help train helicopter pilots and maintenance operations. We're a leader in drone technology and innovation. 17,000 acres of trainable or not maneuver, but training area. We have what we call restricted airspace up to 25,000. It's not unusual to see a A-10. Well, it is now because they're starting to go away. But A-10s practicing bombing runs. It really is a special place, and it has a history that goes back to the First and Second World War. That's part of it. The other side of Fort Indian Town Gap is how tight we are with our community.
Right.
The mutual support and the fire and EMS and police. Some of the, I can't wait to talk about our Keystone State Challenge Academy and what we do here for our youth, 16 to 18-year-olds that are looking for different paths to be successful. We are. What I always like to say is the Guard is embedded in the community, not because we were put there, but because we grew from there. If you look at where our armories are, over 87 armories across the Commonwealth, we have a training capability that is unusual in a very congested northeastern part of the country.
Right. I think you hit the nail on the head when you said community, because so much of what we do is not only from the military side, but the civilian side as well, is getting out into the community. If there's one thing that you do well, sir, it is attend events, be there, speak, outreach with veterans and service members. I mean, you're everywhere, which is great, and I think it's an important thing for you to do. So when it comes to veterans, let's focus on veterans for just a moment. What are the things that you hear from veterans that come up to you and want to speak to you? What do we need to do better?
Wow, that's. I think we'll do an episode on that.
Right,
I'll bring in some of our, General Weigel, who handles our veterans, as my deputy adjutant general for Veterans Affairs. But first, we always like to say we are here to help the veterans get the benefits they deserve. Our nation is, I think, unique around the world, and I say that because I spent a lot of time in Europe and Africa and South America and Asia, and when I talk to other militaries, the level of appreciation that a veteran gets here in the United States, I don't see that is not seen anywhere else. England is a very strong support for their veterans. And a lot of times you see that on certain days, Memorial Day and other types of days. And in the U.S., they talk about it. We let the veterans get on the plane first. Those type of things are unique, and it really makes a difference to us. So for the veterans, a lot of them they like to tell their story. Mm-hmm. They want to. I have a responsibility, a solemn obligation to make sure they know all the benefits they have. And through the VA, we help them apply for benefits and get them covered. They also, they want to be appreciated, not for who they are as individuals, but for what they were as part of a bigger team. A sense of purpose. Like most of the veterans I know are very humble themselves.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
But boy, they're patriotic about their VFW, the American Legion, the Dave, all the different groups. They realize that when they left active military service in general, that they still want to serve. So every time I see a color guard from a Legion or VFW or one of our OT, it inspires me because those are older gentlemen, men and women who are still very proud of and that's the legacy that we at the DMVA. That's our job, is to make sure that we continue that and support those individuals. So they love telling their stories, and it really does inspire me every day. That's why I try to get out as much as I can myself, because I believe I have an obligation to be there and to hear. It's just like when I'm in uniform, I want to hear what the soldiers and airmen have to say. I get all the official briefings. I could use less official briefings and more time with the soldiers and airmen, and that really has helped. And I'm very fortunate to have a Command Sergeant Major Sean Phillips, who's my battle buddy and who's with me there all the time to help us get and connect with people.
Yep, and I think it's very important that you do say that about veterans, is that they're oftentimes very proud and the last people to ask for help. They will
Right.
give help but not ask for it.
Right.
And that's part of why we're here and our job.
Well, that, I'll just mention the PACT Act. If anyone is a Vietnam veteran or Gulf War or War on Terror, and you haven't signed up for the PACT Act, you have to. My father was an individual, during the Vietnam War, was in Ubon Air Base, and because of his mission, he was exposed to a lot of Agent Orange in the Air Force. They use it to clear vegetation off the runways, and so he wasn't aware of it. I mentioned to him, and now the VA is taking care of some of the medical stuff that he has, that's directly attributable to those. But he would have never asked if I didn't know about the program. I just asked him. I was like, Dad, hey, have you heard about this? And it's great. So now he's getting the care that he needs. So those are the examples that. The people, we just got to tell the story so they know what's available to them. And
realize that, the United States really does have that solemn obligation to take care of the soldier from the minute he minute he puts on the uniform until the minute he's no longer on the earth.
Just say service members.
Service members.
Because we have good Marines and
you're right,
space guardians now and everyone.
Well, as we're going through here, I do want to hit on our Keystone State Challenge Academy because it's a truly unique mission and purpose. A lot of National Guards across the nation do have this program. But tell us a little bit about Keystone State Challenge Academy, which is here at Fort Indiantown Gap, but we do accept children 16 to 18-year-olds from all across the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania.
Right. So we have our Keystone State Challenge Academy is a National Guard program funded by the Department of War that helps at-risk 16 to 18-year-old men and boys and girls that are in high school, that are maybe dealing with some challenges and would benefit from a 22-week, roughly structured program. It's quasi-military in that we have platoons, we have physical fitness, we have a lot of education, we have a lot of life skills, and for those roughly 22 weeks. Those cadets are in an environment where they get the opportunity to be the best versions of themselves. And, we have seen tremendous success with these young men and women, whether it's, if you put individuals in a structured program, kind of like basic training in some ways, and they're shown how to be successful, and they're put in a environment where the entire cadre is there to help make these men and women successful. Understanding they come from backgrounds anywhere from the rural part of Fayette County to Philadelphia to Scranton to Erie. Any 16 or 18-year-old is eligible for this program. And so they come into the Keystone State Challenge Academy, and when they graduate, it's amazing to see the transformation. Because this isn't about military recruiting. Only roughly 11% actually sign up, and most of them not to the Guard. A lot of them, they're inspired. They want to go Air Force, Navy, and Marine Corps. We have a lot of Marines. I think that's because of cadre, a lot of Marines. But
right.
So I think I got to get them to be more.
Navy's in there too.
And the Navy's in there. But what we see is that it's just like anyone. If you show and give a supporting environment, these young men and women are really do a tremendous job. And I love the graduation. It's impossible not to get choked up when you hear the story of this young boy or girl and the transformation. We still get letters from parents years later, because not only do you go through the 22-week program, but once you graduate our program, you get for lack of a better term, a guidance counselor that's available to help with, if we helped you get your GED, or if you're able to graduate with your home high school, which is always something that we're real proud of. Some of them may join the military. We help them find jobs, but we help coach and teach a mentor, and it's very similar. It has a military structure, but it's not a military. We are part of the community, and we've had this program now for a few years in Pennsylvania. We've seen tremendous benefits to the young men and women who went through the program. And now I think we have the incoming class. I think we have 100 recruits. Our goal is to roughly have 100 cycle, and we have two programs a year. So we're starting to see a big difference, and the school districts have been tremendous.
Yes.
And really, what we're trying to do is tell the story, because the ones around here know us, and they're taking advantage of it. I think hopefully more school districts out west will start to kind of see the benefit for these kids and the parents.
Yeah, and as we send kids back into their normal lives,
Right.
they talk about it too. And we have gotten several just from referrals from just a buddy telling a buddy, hey,
Yep.
this changed my life. It could change yours.
Yeah.
So it's a great program. We're going to have an episode on that coming up
Great.
as well. A couple personal questions for you, sir. Nothing
Okay.
too deep, but just for people to get to know you.
Yeah.
What's your favorite part of this job?
The people, and it makes you want to get up every day, because every day is different.
Right.
And whether it's visiting a veteran's home and seeing how hard the staff and volunteers work, or sitting down and listening to a World War II veteran when they start talking about their mission, just light up, and just like you can see them, going out and visiting young soldiers or airmen, and just listening and talking to them. I'm real lucky. We have such a dedicated group of people in uniform and supporting those in uniform and our veterans. And so I wish I had more time in the day. But yeah, the best part of this job is the people. And I will say, as the Adjutant General, anyone who's ever worked for an organization will always complain about the higher headquarters. Well, now I'm the higher
You are.
headquarters, so I really can't complain anymore. So
They complain to you.
right. So my job is to try to solve those problems, because every person that's ever been in this job is, we work really hard to try to do it to the best of our ability. And so, when you can actually impact people's lives, and you can help an organization grow the structure, or not grow, or to organize a structure that support the Commonwealth and the country. I mean, I can't think of anything better. This is literally a dream job.
Dream job.
And people tease me about it, but it is. Like when you're in a position where you're like, wow, I can really impact. And so I'm really enjoying it, and it's a lot of fun. And I want us to tell our story, because it's a great story. And so thank you and your team for putting this together. I'm excited about what we'll be covering in the future.
We are too. We're very happy about that. You've been doing this a long time, and I'm not saying you're old, but you've been in uniform for 30 plus years.
34. Yeah.
34 years. West Point graduate, was full-time Army.
Army active duty in Fort Hood in the 1st Cavalry Division as a combat engineer back in the day.
Excellent.
Yep.
And then you found yourself in the reserves, I believe.
Yep, when I came off active duty, I took a job at U.S. Steel, Clayton Coke Works. I'm an environmental engineer, so I worked down at Coke Battery, which is a pretty challenging environment, and it still is down there in the Mon Valley. So I did that for a little while, and then I had the privilege of serving in the legislature for 16 years. And during all that time, I was still a guardsman and a reservist. And I think that's one of the great things about America, is that we have the ability to do that. Most countries don't have the guard at the level, or the reserve component at the level we do. Our brothers and sisters in Lithuania have a reserve component, and very much it's very impressive. But what we do here is, I think, unique in that how operational we are. We're not we used to call it the reserve, strategic reserve.
Mm-hmm.
For 25 years, we've been in every engagement. Operation Epic
Yes.
Fury, we're there. We do everything. So we're very much an operational force.
Right, not just sitting on the
Not-
sidelines
no,
waiting.
No,
Right.
At any given time, I know where all our airmen and soldiers are around the world, and it's pretty impressive.
All right, you get the last word, sir. Anything you'd like to end with? You want to give a pitch for those who'd like to sign up for the National Guard, or anything you'd like to say?
If you're interested in being in the National Guard, the Air and the Army, you can almost do anything. Everything from public affairs and communications to IT to all the military, maneuver, infantry, all that. We have 3 air wings, so we're in Pittsburgh, we're in Harrisburg, and we're in Philadelphia. We have major headquarters out in Washington County and Scranton and Allentown and Philadelphia again, and here at the Fort Erie Town Gap. We have the best state-sponsored military family education program in the country, by far. In the Pennsylvania Guard, not only will we give you a Guard GI Bill, which will pay for your state college, then if you re-enlist and stay in another 6 years, we'll give you another one for your spouse or kid. So we have so many wonderful benefits, and then the people themselves, going back to what's the best part of it, it's great to be part of a family like this. And so anyone's interested, reach out to us. And then to those who are watching and said, man, I wish they would tell us more about this, email, send comments, good comments. And I think that will help drive. Hopefully we'll be talking about the things people want us to talk about, and I won't be the only guest, which is good. So you'll be bringing other people in.
We definitely will, but you're welcome back anytime.
Thank you.
And we appreciate you being here. Major General John Pippy, 55th Adjutant General of Pennsylvania, and our very first interviewee on the front line. Thank you so much for being here, and we hope you enjoyed today's conversation. If you know a service member, a family member of a service member, a veteran advocate, please tell them about the program. And like the General said, if you have any comments or things you'd like to see, leave us a comment below. And thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next month.
Thank you.